hear me? Am I speaking clearly and loudly enough? Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sands, for your hosting and offering up your beautiful residence for us to co-host this event, and we're very proud to do so with our closest friends and partners, and to celebrate and recognise the importance of Copenhagen Pride Week. We know that the lived reality for LGBTI people is not one of equal rights and equal treatments, and we know that people who identify as LGBTI individuals consistently face higher levels of discrimination and violence globally compared to the general population. And that's why we're here today. That's part of what celebrating Pride is also about. Australia is a strong advocate for equal human rights, non-discrimination and non-violence against LGBTI people globally. In Australia, I'm very happy to say we have a lot to celebrate now. We are so delighted to celebrate the legalization of same-sex marriage in December last year. Also very happy to see the 40th anniversary of the Sydney Mardi Gras this year, and those are moments where we can honour the progress that's been made by activists like yourselves. And with 40 years raising the visibility of the LGBTI community under its belt, Sydney is also bidding to follow Copenhagen and host World Pride in 2023. So congratulations to Copenhagen on the successful World Pride 2021 bid. We really hope that we'll be receiving the torch from our close friends. We're well aware that we may have some strong competition in our Canadian colleagues too, so may the best city win. So this year Australia started our first ever term on the Human Rights Council, and very excited to do that, very proud to be the first representative of the Pacific region on that council. Long overdue to have the voices of that region heard there. So we will very much use our term to progress key human rights issues. For us, that's gender equality and the rights of LGBTI persons. Australia is also a proud member of both the UN LGBTI core group and the Equal Rights Coalition. And because we're ambassadors, you have to hear us all tell you what our governments do. We are also very proud to the Global Equality Fund, and that's obviously why we're all here together, to affirm that consistent global message that LGBTI rights are human rights. We in Australia, we focus on supporting LGBTI NGOs in promoting equal rights and development in the Asia Pacific region and in Commonwealth countries, and we know that there's much work to be done there. We're also very proud that we were the first ever country to recommend, make a specific recommendation in the UN, in the Universal Periodic Review, which is a bit of a UN bureaucratic term, but it's where countries put themselves up to be monitored, and in that sense we were able to make a recommendation about encouraging and promoting the rights of intersex persons, and we were very proud to do so. Domestically in Australia, we acknowledge that LGBTI people need continued support, particularly young people in schools and in the provision of mental health services. We have a very groundbreaking model in something we call Headspace, which is our National Youth Mental Health Foundation, and it's a dedicated foundation towards improving the well-being of young Australians, and we know that young people who identify as LGBTI are much more vulnerable to bullying and harassment and other forms of violence that can impact their mental health. So Headspace is something that is very well invested in Australia, and it's a very important model that supports our LGBTI youth. It's also been replicated around the world. Australia also funded a Safe Schools program, which really helps school communities make their own communities safer and more inclusive for LGBTI young people in their schools and their families and the staff at the schools. A very holistic approach. And on bullying, I think one of the things that I'm particularly proud of is the work of some Australian researchers who they work on something called the global burden of disease, which is a mechanism that measures how countries should spend their scarce health dollars. But what is really exciting, and through a very determined effort by this group of researchers, is that these academics have had bullying recognised as a risk factor for later depression and anxiety. And we know that bullying is a huge issue for LGBTI, not just LGBTI young people, but in particular. So I think to have that recognised is going to be a huge, a real breakthrough in terms of assessing and being able to measure the impact of that. So I'm really happy that our academics have moved that forward into the centre of the agenda around measuring health impact, because that's something that we can actually do something about with many of those things that we've talked about. So thank you very much for being here. I really am delighted that so many people were able to come, and I just think, you know, to celebrate Pride Week is really about making sure that LGBTI rights are indivisible from human rights, and we know that the safety, security and the right to love who we want to love should be paramount. So I wish you all a very joyous celebration of Pride Week. I look forward to seeing many of you at the march on Saturday, and I'll pass over to my Canadian colleague on that.